Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Heidi. Welcome to today's show. I am excited because this episode we are talking about the phenomenon that is the Lego Movie. And guys, I really like the Lego Movie. We are going to be talking about the first one, which, as I said, I really like. I really enjoy this film. We are also going to be talking about the newest one, which is the Lego Movie sequel, aka the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Both are very entertaining. Both are meant for children, but also have plenty of jokes for adults. And I mean, I'm not a child. I have mentioned before that I don't... that sounded so pompous. I'm not a kid. I have mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of all kids' movies, but these ones do have something a little bit for everyone. It's like if you're a parent and you're bringing your kid to a movie for them, for a children's movie, you want to be able to have some laughs too, you know? You want to be able to enjoy it a bit as well. So I think the Lego Movie does that. And I mean, it sounds weird, right? It's a movie about Legos. It's a movie about toys, which... I mean, there's the Transformers film, which is kind of related to toys and also an animated show. It's a risky move, in my opinion, for the studio to make a movie about toys, because I don't think if someone just telling you it's about Legos, I don't think you're guaranteed to be going to get like a bunch of parents interested, you know? Like if someone's like, they're making a movie about, I don't know, like My Little Pony or something, I'm not going to be excited. Like, that's about children's toys. So it is interesting. They pulled it off very well. I want to start by talking about the first Lego Movie. This came out in 2014, and this one is just called The Lego Movie. It was directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and both these films have fabulous voice acting casts. I really feel like especially with a lot of kids movies nowadays, the voice acting, to me, the talent is really noticeable. A lot of these people are not just voice actors, they are actors. So they're really able to use their voices well. I'm very impressed. The main character, Emmett Burkowski, is voiced by Chris Pratt. Will Arnett voices Batman, or Bruce Wayne, of course. Elizabeth Banks voices Wildstyle, also known as Lucy. Alison Brie is Unikitty. Will Ferrell voices Lord Business, or President Business, and also appears as the man upstairs. Morgan Freeman plays Vitruvius. Liam Neeson plays the good cop, bad cop. And Nick Offerman is Metalbeard. Again, excellent cast. I was seriously impressed. So what this movie is about Emmett, again, by Chris Pratt, who is an ordinary Lego figurine and follows all the rules. He is unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what point in the story you want to ask him, is mistakenly identified as the Special, or an extraordinary being, and is the key to saving the Lego world. After he is identified as the Special, he finds himself drafted into a fellowship of strangers who are on a mission to stop an evil tyrant, played by Will Ferrell, who plans to conquer the Lego world. Unfortunately for Emmett, he is hopelessly and humorously unprepared for such a task, but he gives it his all nonetheless. Now, if I'm talking about toys, you might wonder kind of the style of which this movie is done. It is sort of like, and I will mention this, I'll talk about the visuals. It's not necessarily stop motion, but everything is made out of the Lego bricks. Like when you go to buy the Lego toys and you get the little kits to build like a castle or something, it's like that. Like every piece is an individual like Lego piece, and every building is made up of these tiny pieces. And Emmett and all these other characters are the little Lego figurines that you will see in the toy boxes. They do it very, very well. The film, though, does have some live action in it, which is why, like, Will Ferrell is also in this film. He also plays a dad, so there are live action characters, but really not that much, at least in this first film. It's a lot more just in the Lego universe, where you're looking at all the animation, and it's very well done. I will talk about that, but very impressive. So the Lego movie really was this, like, just big phenomenon when it came out. I feel like if you haven't seen it and you're not already singing Everything is Awesome, you are truly missing out. Everything is Awesome is a song that is in the movie. It is so catchy. I actually worked at a camp, and one of the evening activities was they had Zumba for like the people who came to this camp. And one of the songs they did Zumba to was Everything is Awesome, which was like for the kids. And ever since then, this song gets stuck in my head so easily, and I just immediately see all the Zumba moves in my head, but it will get stuck in your head. And so if you have not seen this film, I highly suggest it. Honestly, you're kind of missing out if you don't watch it. So I want to start off. This movie is really fun. Really fun. It's fresh, and not just like the certified fresh rating that it has on the popular site Rotten Tomatoes, but it's fresh. The film feels new, I guess. Like the way it tells jokes, it's a children's movie about plastic toys. So you're not really expecting much, to be honest, if you're just told that premise. But it comes out of the gate, it makes you laugh, and it tells jokes in a way that are unexpected. It uses, I guess, like children's toys. It's sort of irreverent at times, and it is reimagining in a lot of senses what it means for a kid's film. Like, it's very funny. And I had mentioned this before. I talked about the Will Ferrell film Sherlock and Holmes, which I mentioned a bit about comedy, and I really feel that there's not just as many strict comedy movies anymore. It's kind of like an action movie with comedy in it, or, you know, a superhero movie with comedy in it, or something like that. And this is definitely a kids movie with a lot of comedy in it, where you could kind of consider it a comedy, but it's not strictly a comedy. It's also a children's film that does have some sort of underlying moral and is aimed towards kids, that has themes that they can kind of understand and jokes that they can understand, but also jokes for parents. And again, as I said before, something that I think will be enjoyable by all in the audience. It does feel fresh. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. It has, again, the catchy song. It's not really a musical, but it does have this song that's kind of influential in the film, so it will get stuck in your head. Also, this film really just reminded me of how much I loved playing with Legos when I was growing up. It brings the fun to life with a lot of like fast-paced joke telling, the beautiful graphics, and like you don't have to be someone who played with Legos as a kid to enjoy it. But for me, it really did bring back memories of that, and memories of those good times, and not all the good times of like stepping on Legos or losing a piece, but being able to just have fun and kind of build whatever you wanted. And it's definitely a story about creativity. It's also kind of meta at times. I'll talk about the second film later in this episode, but the second film is way more meta than the first one. But it has moments like that too, which I think not just offers jokes for parents, but offers some point plots that I think parents will understand a little bit more. Okay, I want to talk about the visuals. And the graphics are so good. So this film is really a unique blend of CGI animation and then actual Lego sets. And that's what gives the final look of the movie such like visual depth. It almost appears as if someone has like painstakingly animated each and every single movement through stop motion, which they didn't do, but they did use real Lego sets for a lot of their modeling. And I felt, I'll speak about the visuals in the second one later, but the second one had a bit more where I was like, that's like a bit more of a real life prop. But the first one, it also has like little pieces that aren't just Legos. Like if you're a kid and you're building a Lego building, let's say you decide you want the characters to have, I don't know, they need a table or something. And maybe you don't have a Lego table. So you might take like a table from a dollhouse and put it inside the Lego house. It's kind of like that. Like there are moments, there are little like items from real life that appear in the Lego universe, which reminds you that these toys are actual toys, that they are kind of played with. And that is a bit of the meta element. You're not just completely in the Lego universe where there's no other sign of like, you know, children or the real world. There are signs of the real world, and I think that adds to the interest of this film. And again, a little bit of like the plot depth and the storytelling depth gets added in. So there is a lot of the surprising visuals, like with the CGI, looks kind of like stop motion, and with the real life objects. Also, there's not like real water or real smoke in this film. Everything is made out of Lego bricks. So when you see like a cloud of smoke come out of a train stack, it's just a bunch of Lego bricks put together. It's really amazing how they did it. Like when you see a wave or when you see like the water from a shower, it's not like gusts, like gushes of water. It's like Lego bricks that kind of, when put together, like all look like water. It's really, really well done. Another detail that they put into this film that was well done is they include like little fingerprint smudges and even like dust particles into the visuals. So you can really see the wear and tear on these toys. There's like a spaceman who is like from the 80s, and like his helmet is cracked and some of the paint on his shirt is kind of worn, and that again shows the wear of these characters, and again reminds you that they're toys. It doesn't completely remove them from the real world in which they exist. And I think that, as I said before, this movie has a fresh feeling. That's what makes it so interesting. Kind of like how in Toy Story, you know that they're toys who are being played with. This is a little bit less obvious than in Toy Story, with like, you know, you don't see the actual kids as much, but it's very well done. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll keep talking about the Lego Movie.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back to the movie podcast. We are continuing to talk about the Lego Movie, specifically the first one. So I've mentioned the visuals before the break. They are spectacular. They worked so hard just to make this look bright. The colors are vibrant. It looks very beautiful. Everything is like so well done. Every building looks completely built by Lego bricks. The streets, everything, very well done. After the visuals, I want to just give a brief overall of what I think about this film. And if you have not seen this film, you need to see it. And if you haven't seen it, if you have children, your children need to see it. I mean, if they haven't already. I'm very surprised. I would be very surprised if they hadn't. I really feel this film will become a classic. It's like a movie that can be shown kind of over and over again. And there's so many jokes that are like, there's so many jokes packed into the dialogue. And also visual gags as well. There are so many of them that it has a lot of rewatchability. And every time I watch it, I enjoy it. I get the song "Everything is Awesome" stuck in my head. And it's very beautiful. I thoroughly enjoy it. And just the detail of every single character, like the character Metalbeard, who is just a pirate on a bunch of like, his head is on like a bunch of pieces of like ship parts and a shark and like a peg leg. And he's a very interesting looking character. There's so much to see visually in that. I really enjoyed that. There's like this meta element, kind of like a twist at the end that I would say I didn't necessarily see coming. So I really appreciated that. Again, kids and adults will enjoy it. And really, one could just say that everything in this film was awesome. I would highly suggest it. I think it really, in terms of children's movies, I think it surprised the genre, and it's a formula that I would say will be repeated again and again, which unfortunately means that films after the first one will not feel as fresh or as novel because they will be repeats, and you can't help that. If you're trying to repeat a winning formula, it's going to become less novel. So, with that being said, I'd like to move on and talk about the sequel to the Lego Movie. This is the Lego Movie 2, the second part. And this movie came out recently, February 8th, 2019. It is directed by Mike Mitchell, and also with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who were the writers and directors of the first film. They return as producers and writers to this movie. So this sequel, it stars some of the familiar voices from the first film. Again, Chris Pratt as Emmett, Will Arnett as Batman, Elizabeth Banks as Wildstyle, Alison Brie as Unikitty. Will Ferrell appears in this film, not nearly as much as the first one, but a little bit. And also, again, Nick Offerman as Metalbeard. You also get some new characters. You get Tiffany Haddish as Queen Whatever Wannabe, Stephanie Beatrice as General Mayhem, and you also get Maya Rudolph, who appears as a mom in this film. It's fun. Still visually stunning. I'm excited to talk about this film because I was so excited to watch it. So in this film, the citizens of Bricksburg face a dangerous new threat when they are invaded by new Lego toys from outer space who come to wreck everything in their path. The battle to defeat the enemy and restore harmony to the Lego universe takes Emmett, Lucy, Batman, and the rest of their friends to a faraway, unexplored world. It tests their courage and also their creativity, and also, I would say, their bonds of friendship. After the huge success of the first film, honestly, like a sequel to like in the movie franchise is inevitable. From the first film in 2014, after that one, there came the Lego Batman movie, which was Lego Batman's own movie. It again featured Will Arnett as Batman. You also had the Lego Ninjago movie, which was released after the first one. Although really, in my opinion, only the Batman Lego movie came out because who really saw Ninjago? I mean, like, if Lego Batman and the Lego 1 and Lego 2 movies are for kids and adults, Ninjago is really just for kids. I mean, anyone I ask who I'm like, oh yeah, they're like Lego movies, everyone just mentions, oh yeah, Batman. No one's ever like, oh yeah, Ninjago. That was great. So I'm not going to speak more about that film, but it happened. So after those films, now we have the sequel to the first Lego film. This one is in the same world as the first Lego movie. It's also in the same plot line from the first one. It just picks up right where the first one ended. The Ninjago Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie are in different universes. Like, Lego Batman is still in like the Gotham universe, the Batman Lego universe, but again with all Lego toys. The Ninjago film is in a different universe. I said I wasn't going to talk about it again. It's coming back. I can't avoid it. But this film, again, has some of the same characters. It's very similar plot line. And the first one ends when the aliens come and like invade the Lego universe planet. And this second one starts with that same kind of scene where the other Legos come in and attack their planet. So I'm not like giving away a huge point. We already saw that in the first one. In terms of plot, almost all of the characters and the voice acting is the same, which I think is definitely a good thing because the voice acting is really good. I think so for that, in terms of like continuity, I'm really glad they kept the same voice acting. I have mentioned the main cast. There are so many other amazing actors who appear in this film who aren't a part of the main cast, but who just do other characters, even if they only have like one line. It's amazing. And that was the same for like the Lego Batman movie. Again, the voice acting is so good. I'm so impressed. I don't know if this is like because we're just using actors to do the voice acting and we're not just getting like people who are just professional voice actors. I'm not sure. I mean, if someone wants to disagree with me, you can come fight me online. You can come tell me how I'm wrong. But I really feel like that has helped in animation and in just general cartoon characters. Like in this film and in the first Lego movie, like Channing Tatum comes in. I believe he's Superman. He only has a few lines, but he's still great. And that really, I don't know, makes the character very enjoyable. Jonah Hill is like the Green Lantern. It's hilarious. I don't know. I just was very impressed. So most of the characters are the same, most of the voice actors are the same, but there is one noticeable character change, and that is Morgan Freeman. He's not in the second film. In the first film, he plays like the lovable sage and leader Vitruvius. Instead of Morgan Freeman, we have a great new character, Queen Whatever Wanabe, who is voiced by Tiffany Haddish. We also get Stephanie Beatrice, who voices General Mayhem, another great addition. I personally enjoyed Morgan Freeman, I think, more than Tiffany Haddish's character. But Queen Whatever Wanabe has a wonderful musical number in this film. Her voice acting is so good, and I love the name. Again, that is Queen Whatever Wanabe, so like whatever you want to be. Again, I'm just going to spell that out for you if you didn't pick that up when I said it. But it's so clever. I feel like those moments in these Lego films are what make them so good. There are just so many clever, like little like Easter eggs, I want to say, just little bits for people to enjoy, even if it's just how they name things or I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to explain it. It's just a really clever joking style. I will be interested to see how that ages because I think comedy is one of those things that doesn't age very well. So I am curious to see how that goes. But the first movie, I watched it recently and it has held up. I continue to say that it has a lot of watchability. You can see it over and over again, and I think it's still really good. Also, like one of the details I wanted to point out is like in the first movie, they're eating like croissants and like sausages, which is really, and like turkey legs, like very random food things to eat. But apparently they did that. They kept so close to the Lego toys because Lego company is made in Europe. And so they just kept the same foods that are from the actual like Lego toys, which are like European related foods like croissants or sausages or like apparently turkey legs. So I don't know. They're not using all like American foods, but sorry. That's just a fun detail I wanted to share that I thoroughly enjoyed when I was looking into the Lego movie. Their detail is so, so good. So I want to talk about some of the points of this film. The first film and the second one are meta, and I feel like the second film, it just leaned into that a lot more than the first one. What I mean by meta is like the first film, they talk about the man upstairs, and you know they're meaning like a human person. And like you see how that person plays with the toys, and they even kind of joke about it, like how the toys are just like representations of creativity and like a child's creativity, which is true. I mean, a kid playing with Legos and building things, that's their own imagination coming out and coming to play. And it's meta in that sense where you have this like reveal of like, ooh, the man upstairs, like this person playing with them and collecting Legos and all of that. But the second film really leaned into it. In some ways, I would say the actual plot of the second film is very like original. Like they have some twists that they try. You see just more into the real world, and I don't know, there's even like time travel that comes into this, like things that I did not expect that I'm not really sure kids will pick up on all the way or truly understand. Also, the second one leans more into the meta, but I would still say the first one I found to be a bit funnier. I think the jokes are a bit better. I found myself laughing more in the first one than the second one. The second one is still very good. And again, I still think it has just like rewatchability, but I don't think it's as funny as the first one. With the plot leaning more into the meta, I'm not really sure that's better. I think they tried really hard to make the plot a little bit more complicated, maybe for adults watching it. Because I think they realized a lot of their audience was not just kids. It was also like adults with kids, or even just people like me who don't have kids, but who are still somehow by society considered an adult, but people who were older and not just children. So maybe they were trying to go in that direction to make it a bit more complicated of a storyline. I'm not quite sure. Or they just thought that like the storyline has to be a bit more complicated because they have to grow and get even bigger from the first film. I'm not sure, but it has some interesting points, I would say, kind of like figuratively and literally fighting with yourself. It's a little heavy in that sense. So before I continue talking more about the Lego 2 movie, we're going to take a quick break. So we'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the movie podcast. We are continuing to talk about the Lego movies. Right now we are talking about the second Lego movie. And before the break, I talked about some plot points and sort of the meta nature of this film. I want to mention in this one also the visuals. I talked about them in the first one. I believe the process of making the visuals was similar to the first. And really, they're great. I mean, the first one had excellent visuals. The second one, again, has excellent visuals. I think they stepped it up a little bit in the second one. Some of the graphics, you can just see like the individual Lego bricks that some of the Lego characters see and the Lego characters build. Like if they're trying to build a spaceship, they will be able to look out at all the pieces and see like, oh, this is a wheel that we need, or this is part of a wing that we need. And you see it through those characters' eyes as like, it looks a little bit like an instruction manual. Like they see the piece and then little numbers appear next to them. Like those are the numbers when you build a Lego piece, when you build like a Lego ship or whatever from the book, the pieces come up in numbers. You can identify them and put them together in the right spot. And I think they did that really well in the second one. They make the numbers a little bit more clear, which I think is very clever because anyone who's built Legos knows that's like the instruction manual where you're seeing the numbers with the pieces. So I think they did that well. Also, the second one incorporated again, the first one incorporated pieces from the real world, like it incorporated the super glue. But the second one, I feel like, puts a little bit more of those pieces in, not just in super big plots like the super glue in the first one, but like there's like a scarf that you see a little bit that has like glitter on it to represent, I don't know, like a fancy wave or something. And then you also might see like string in another scene to show like a little Lego piece flying through the air. It was really funny the way they did that. And I think they didn't incorporate too many actual pieces, which I think would have been a little too much. Like you see like, I think it's like an iPod Touch or something. You see that in the film and it's not too much. That would, I think they could have pushed that more and it would have been a little distracting. But they included it and it didn't take away from the beautiful visuals that are in this film where you just see all the individual bricks and all the individual pieces. And again, where they did like the water and those are just a compilation of Lego pieces. That's really well done still in this one. Also, in this film, there is sort of this like big, there's like a message they're trying to get across. The first film, they had this reveal of the outside world and the real world that's playing with the Legos, and that was kind of a bit of a twist. I think it takes you a bit by surprise. The second one didn't have that as much. I think it tried to have this big reveal, not necessarily about the real world that plays with the Legos, but a different type of plot reveal that I just didn't think was as successful. I think it was a bit confusing, or at least will be a bit confusing for kids. Like, I can't imagine a kid trying to retell me this plot. Like, I don't think that would work out well if a kid was trying to summarize it to me. I would not know what they're talking about. Granted, if I tried to explain this to someone, like, full of excitement, I don't think that it would really make a lot of sense either if I was trying to summarize every single thing that happens. Like, it's a bit complicated. They do have like a message of like, everything is not awesome. Like in the first film, they had the song Everything is Awesome. And in the second one, they talk about like, everything's not always awesome. And they say, and that's okay when it's not always awesome. And it's like talking about, I think, like how kids will deal with struggle. And they're trying to address that. They're trying to address like, you should never give up even when things are difficult, and that you should always strive to be the best version of yourself. And also they give you the message, don't go back in time to try and stop yourself from making peace within the Lego universe. But, you know, the important morals that all kids need. I did feel a little bit, they tried to involve Wildstyle more into this film, really painting her as the, like, Emmett is still the protagonist, but she plays a bigger role, I think, and has a bit of a more emotional role in this film. I feel like that's the studio incorporating girls more into this because, you know, boys and girls play with Legos, and they're trying to kind of go into the direction that a lot of films and a lot of production is going in, like giving you more of a strong female protagonist. And I think that's good. I don't think that's bad. But it's like how the Disney move, like sometimes Disney will be like, oh yeah, in the past, all of our Disney princesses were just saved by princes and we're all damsels in distress. And now we have like a lot of women, like they don't need to be saved and all of that, which feels like Disney trying to like make up for past wrongs a little bit. And like this Lego movie kind of makes fun of their use of Emmett, where like, oh, Wildstyle did all the work and then Emmett got the credit. They make a joke about that. And that's kind of like them being very self-aware of what they did. And kind of like a little bit, I wouldn't say it's a Disney cop-out, but it's hinting at they could have done that a little more, which I'm glad they didn't, which is, I don't know, having to forgive Disney for that. I don't know. Disney tries. But they did bring Wildstyle into this more. They made her a stronger protagonist. I enjoyed that. I will say they gave a stronger message in this film about not giving up, and I liked that. I think they did that well. And overall, I think you can't really match the first Lego movie. The first one was so revolutionary and so new and fresh. A second one, I think, was just destined to not do as well as the first one, to not be quite as revolutionary. And that's not necessarily their fault. I mean, when you make such a good product, can you really make something, again, that beats it? I mean, Apple tries, but who knows how successful they are. Also, I want to mention the second one really became more of a musical. The first one had Everything is Awesome. This one has a lot of other songs and a lot of other catchy songs, even a song aptly named Catchy Song. It really will get stuck inside your head. But yeah, I think they did a good job with the songs. The voice acting, again, is great. The visuals are great. There are jokes for adults and kids as well, like the first one. The credits are excellent. You should stay for the credits. They're entertaining. And as a side note, the family in this film with the kids and the Legos, they must be so rich because they have so many Legos and their house is huge. But I don't know. Their parents are Will Ferrell and Maya Rudolph, so maybe they are. But if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean. Anyway, I really enjoyed watching both of these films. Please go see them. They're both very funny and they're enjoyable for the whole family. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please listen to the next GSMC movie podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.